On Feb 21, Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine are declared as independent by the Russian President Vladimir Putin in a conference. Later on 24th Feb 2022 morning, Russia along with Belarus forces attacked Ukraine. On the other hand, Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, imposed martial law in their country and ended all the diplomatic ties with Russia. This is the conflict started between Russia versus Ukraine in from the last 8 years. We will discuss about all this conflict. We will discuss that will this war be ended? Will this war affect Europe? Will this war be called World War III? All aspects will be covered. Stay tuned with us. We will start from the beginning that Ukraine was once the part of Soviet Union, but it got independence on 24th of August 1991. Ukraine shares the borders with both European Union and Russia, but because of former Soviet Union, it has deep ties with Russia, which are their cultural ties. And we all know that if some country shares a border with another country, then there, on the both sides of the border, there are some cultural ties. Actually, Russian language is also widely spoken on the eastern side of Ukraine, and that's very natural because on both sides of the border they share their culture. In eastern Ukraine, there are pro-Russian ethnic groups. These are against the Ukrainian government, and you can take an idea from this. Ukraine's people and Ukrainian peoples and the government called these Russian ethnic groups as rebels. Let us take a small overview of the conflict that has been started from the last 8 years. This all conflict started from the agreement done by President Viktor Yanukovych, the president of Ukraine, in April 2010. In April 2010, the president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, signed an agreement with Russia. This agreement was about that the 30% cutout of the rates of natural gas for Ukraine that is given by the Russia to Ukraine. On the return, the Ukraine has to give permission Russian naval fleet in Black Sea that has to be extended for next 25 years. It means up to 2042. This agreement was heavily criticized by the Ukrainian people, Ukrainian public. USA and the European Union also dislike this deal. They don't want Russia to be govern all the Black Sea, and they don't want Russian naval fleet to be extended in that region. After this deal, the President Viktor Yanukovych was disliked by the Ukrainian peoples, and he was charged of many kinds of corruption cases. But he wanted to attain the love and the respect of Ukrainian peoples, and in early 2013, Yanukovych was signing the European Union Association Agreement. Ukrainian peoples promoted this decision because this policy was to make economic reforms in Ukraine. But later on, November 2013, the government suspended the signing of European Union Association Agreement. This was the point where this conflict has been started. Viktor Yanukovych went back from its own province, which created a civil unrest in Ukraine. There started a protest which turned into riots, which changed into movement, so-called Euromaidan movement. The main purpose of the movement was to remove Mr. Viktor Yanukovych from its position. On 22nd Feb 2014, Yanukovych fled the country and went to Russia along with some of its government officials. Then there started protests in Crimea. Crimea was actually the place of Russian peoples, we say Russian ethnic groups. Later on, Crimea was annexed by Russia in 16th March 2014. European Union and US condemned and put sanctions on Russia about that, but Russia don't care. In December 2014, Malaysian airline was shot down by Ukrainian airspace by Russian rebel forces. Actually, these Russian rebel forces was supported by Russia, and all of their military equipments was given to them by Russia. Later on, Minsk Agreement was signed to stop some internal war in Donbas region. Actually, Donbas region is also called Luhansk and Donetsk regions. Russia wants, actually this was happened, but unluckily both the Minsk Agreement were failed. Now we are going to talk about something interesting, that what Russia wants and what Ukraine wants. Actually, Russia wants autonomy of Donbas region. Russia says elections and autonomy first, then everything else. Russia wants this fairly because it is all the democracy, it is all the symbol of democracy. Russia wants another thing, that Russia doesn't want to allow the involvement of USA and European Union in Ukraine. On the other hand, Ukraine demand before conducting local elections in Donbass is to complete a complete ceasefire and withdrawal of all Russian troops and weapons. Actually, Ukraine can't give special status to Donbas region. It may cause civil unrest in Ukraine as in past 2013 Euromaidan movement. Now, what is the role of European Union and USA? Actually, European Union and USA is all doing that. They are putting sanctions on Russia and their gas pipeline and nothing else. They cannot dare to supply NATO to Ukraine because they know that Russia is far behind their expectations. Now, the dangers of this conflict are that if Russia-Ukraine conflict escalated, the gas prices in Europe will rise high, and this will also affect badly the European markets. This is all from the conflicts of Ukraine versus Russia. Hope so you enjoy our video and information. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.